Hello, good evening and welcome to Daddy's Bedtime Stories. Today we're continuing to read the book by Enid Blighton, which is an old one called The Folk of the Faraway Tree. So this one has been around for a long time. I used to read it when I was a boy. So we're reading part 3 today. So this is a very big book, so it's going to take a few parts to get through it. But we'll get going, and today we're reading from about page 12. So anyway, we're going to start there and keep moving forward. So hope you enjoy the book today, and I hope all you kiddies get a good night's sleep. Okay, so I bet she wants to peep, whispered Joe and Bessie with a grin. Come on, let her. When she saw that the others were a little way up, she climbed quickly over the little window. She peeped inside. Oh, what fun! Oh, how lovely! There is a proper little room inside the tree, with a bed and a chair and a table. Sitting writing at a table was the angry pixie. His glasses on his nose, he had an enormous ink pot of ink and a very small pen, and his fingers were stained with purple ink. Connie's shadow at the window made him look up. He saw the little girl peeping, and he flew into one of his rages. He shot to his feet, picked up an enormous ink pot, and rushed to his window. He opened it and yelled loudly, "Peeping again! Everybody peeps at my window! Everybody! I won't have it! I really won't have it!" He emptied the ink pot all over the alarmed Connie. The ink fell into big splots on her frock, and on her cheek and hands. She was in a terrible mess. Oh, you wicked fellow," she cried. "Look at what you've done to me." "Well, you shouldn't peep," cried the angry pixie, still in a rage. "Now I can't finish my letter. I've no more ink. You bad girl, you horrid peeper." "Joe, Bessie, come and help me," sobbed Connie, crying tears of rage and grief down her ink-smudged cheeks. The angry pixie suddenly looked surprised and a little ashamed. "Oh, are you a friend of Joe's?" he asked. "Why didn't you say so? I would have shouted at you for peeping, but I wouldn't have thrown the ink at you. Really, I wouldn't. Joe should have warned you not to peep." "I did," said Joe, appearing at the window. "It's her own fault. My, you look a mess. Connie, come on. We shall never be at Moonface's by 4 o'clock. Wiping away her tears, Connie followed the others up the tree. They came to another window, and this time the 3 children looked in. But Connie wouldn't. "No, thank you," she said. "I'm not going to have any more things thrown at me again. I think the people who live here are horrid." "You needn't be afraid of peeping in this window," said Joe. "The owl lives in there, and he always sleeps in by the daytime, so he never sees the people peeping in. He's a great friend of Silky the pixie. Do look at him. He's lying asleep on his bed. The red nightcap he's got on was knitted for him by Silky. He does look nice in it." But Connie wouldn't look in. She was angry and sulky. She went on up the tree by herself. Joe suddenly heard a sound he knew very well and yelled loudly to Connie. "Oh, hi Connie. Connie, look out. I can hear dear Dame Washalot's water coming down the tree. Look out." Connie was just about to answer that she didn't believe in Dame Washalot or her silly water, when a perfect cascade of dirty soapy water came splashing down the faraway tree. It fell all over poor Connie and soaked her from head to foot. Some of the suds stayed in her hair, and she looked a dreadful sight. The others had all ducked under a broad bough, and as soon as they heard the water coming, and they hadn't even had a drop on them. Joe began to look when he saw Connie. The little girl burst into tears again. Let me go home, she wept. "I hate your faraway tree. I hate all the people in it. Let me go home." A slippery voice called down the tree. Who is in trouble? Come up and I'll help you." "It's dear Silky," said Bessie. "Come on, Connie. She'll get you dry again." And there's a picture of poor Connie with her ink-soaked dress and the suds in her hair. Not a happy little girl. I I don't want to see any more of these horrid people who live in the tree, wept poor Connie. But Joe took her firmly by the elbow and pushed her up a broad bow to where a yellow door stood, open in the tree. In the doorway stood the prettiest little elf it was possible to see. She had hair that stood out round her head like golden mist, as fine as silk. She held out her hand to Connie. Poor child, did you get caught in Dame Washalot's water? She has been washing such a lot today, and the water has been coming down all day. Let me dry you. Connie couldn't help liking this pretty little elf. How dainty she was in her shiny frock, and what tiny feet and hands she had. Yes, I know, said Silky. We're going up to Moonface's house to tea. He said he would ask his Mr. What's-it-name too, but I don't expect he'll come because I heard him snoring on his deck chair as usual a while ago. Mr. Who? Said Connie. Mr. What's-its-name, said Silky. He doesn't know his name, nor does anyone, so we all call him Mr. What's-its-name. We've tried to find out what his name is, but I don't expect we shall ever know, unless the land of Know-all comes. Then we might go up there and find out. You can find out anything in the land of Know-all. Oh, said Joe, thinking a whole lot of things. He dearly would love to know. We'll go there if it comes. Then suddenly came a curious noise down the tree, a noise of clanking, jingling, crashing, banging. Connie looked alarmed. Whatever would happen next? It sounded as if 100 saucepans, a few dozen kettles, and some odds and ends of dishes and pans were falling down the tree together. Then a voice came floating down the tree, and the children grinned. 2 books for a bookworm, 2 butts for a goat, 2 winks for a winkle. Who can sing a note? What a silly little song, said Connie. Yes, it is, said Joe. It's the kind the old saucepan man always sings in his two song. Every line but the last begins with the word two. Anyone can make up a song like that. Well, I'm sure I don't want to, said Connie, thinking that everybody in the Faraway Tree must be a little bit mad. Who's the saucepan man? And what's this awful crashing noise? Only saucepans and kettles and things, said Bettel. Only his saucepans and kettles and things, said Bessie. He carries them around with him. He's a darling. Once we saw him without his saucepans and things around him, and we didn't know him. He looked funny and quite different. A most extraordinary person now came into Silky's house, almost getting stuck in the door. He was covered from head to foot with saucepans, kettles and pans, which were tied around him with string. They jangled and crashed together, so everyone knew he was the saucepan man coming. Connie stared at him with great surprise. His hat was a very big saucepan, so big that it hid most of his face. Connie could see a wide grin, but that was about all. Who's this funny creature? Said Connie in a loud, rude voice. Now, the saucepan man was deaf, and he didn't usually hear what was said, but this time he did, and he didn't like it. He tilted back his saucepan hat and stared at Connie. Who's this dirty little girl? He said, in a voice as loud as Connie's. Connie went red. She glared at the saucepan man. This is Connie, said Joe. He turned to Connie. This is Saucepan, a great friend of ours. He said, we've had lots of adventures together. Why is he so dirty? Asked Saucepan, looking at Connie's ink-stained dress and dirty face. Is she always like that? Why don't you clean her? Connie was furious. She was always so clean and dainty and well-dressed. How dare this horrid, clanking little man talk to her like that? Go away, she said angrily. Yes, it's a very nice day, said Saucepan Man politely, going suddenly deaf. Don't stay here and stare, shouted Connie. I certainly should wash your hair, said the Saucepan Man at once. It's full of soap suds. I said, don't stare, cried Connie. Mind that stare, said the Saucepan Man, looking around. I can't see any. Did you know where any stairs are in the Faraway Tree? Connie stared at him in rage. Is he mad? He said to Joe. Joe and the others were laughing at his queer conversation. Joe shook his head. No, Saucepan Man isn't mad, he's just deaf. His saucepans make such a clanking all the time that the noise gets into his ears and he can't hear properly. So he keeps making mistakes. That's right, said Saucepan Man, entering the conversation suddenly. Cakes, plenty of them, waiting for us at Moonface's place. I said mistakes, said Joe, not cakes. But Moonface's cakes aren't mistakes, said Saucepan earnestly. Joe gave it up. We'd better go up to Moonface's, he said. It's past 4 o'clock. I hope that awful Saucepan Man isn't coming with us, said Connie. For a wonder Saucepan heard what she said. He looked angry. I hope this nasty little girl isn't coming with us, he said in his turn, and glared at Connie. Now, said Silky, and patted the Saucepan Man on his kettles. Don't get cross. It only makes things worse. Purse? Have you lost it? Said the Saucepan Man anxiously. I said worse, not purse, said Silky. Come on, let's go. Connie's dry now, but I can't get the ink stains out of her dress. They all began to climb the tree again, the Saucepan Man making a frightful noise. He began to sing his silly song. 2 bangs for a pop gun, 2... Be quiet, said Silky. You'll wake Mr. What's-its-name. He's fast asleep. He went to bed very late last night, so he'll be tired. We won't wake him. We shall be a dreadful squash inside Moonface's house anyhow. Steal past his chair quietly. Saucepan, try not to make your kettles clang together. Yes, lovely weather, agreed Saucepan, mishearing again. They all stole past. Saucepan made a few clatters, but they didn't disturb What's-his-name, who snored loudly and peaceful in his deck chair on the broad bough of the tree outside of his house. His mouth was wide open. I wonder if people pop things in his mouth if he leaves it open like that, whispered Connie. People do, said Joe. Moonface put some acorns in once. He was awful angry. He really was. It's a wonder he doesn't get soaked with Dame Washalot's water. But he doesn't seem to. He always puts his chair well under the big branch. They went on up the tree. In the distance they saw Dame Washalot's hanging out some clothes on bows. They blow away if she doesn't get someone to sit on them, said Silky to Connie. So she pays a baby squirrel to sit patiently on each bit of washing. She does till it dries, and then she can take it in and iron it. They saw the line of the baby squirrels in the distance. They looked sweet. Connie wanted to go nearer, but Joe said no. They really must go on. Moonface would be tired of waiting for them. At last they came to the top of the tree. Connie was amazed when she looked down. The Faraway Tree rose higher than any tree in the enchanted wood. Far below them waved the tops of the other trees. Truly, the Faraway Tree was amazing. Here we are, Moonface's, said Joe. He banged on the door. It flew open and Moonface looked out, his big round face one large smile. I thought you were never coming, he said. You are late. We've brought this dirty little girl, said Saucepan, and he pushed Connie forward. Moonface looked at her. She does look a bit dirty, he said, with a smile broadly. I suppose she got into trouble with that angry pixie. And got some of Dave's Washalot water on her too. Never mind. Come along in and we'll have a good tea. I've got some hot, cold goodies. Whatever are they? Said Connie. And even the others hadn't heard of them. They all went into Moonface's exciting house, and it was really rather extraordinary. In the very middle was a large hole with a pile of coloured cushions by it. A round hole was Moonface's furniture. It curved to fit the roundness of the trunk. There was a curious curved bed in a curved sofa and a curved stove and chairs all set around the trunk inside the tree. It's very exciting, said Connie, looking around. What's that hole in the middle? Nobody answered her. They were too busy looking at the lovely tea that Moonface had put ready on the curved table. They wanted to know what a hot, cold goodies were like. They knew pop biscuits and Google buns, but they didn't know hot cold goodies. "What's this hole?" demanded Connie again, but nobody bothered about her. She felt so curious that she went to the edge of the strange hole and put her foot in it to see if there were any steps down. She suddenly lost her balance and stepped right in the hole. She sat down with a bump, and then, oh my goodness, she began to slide at top speed down the hole that ran from the top of the tree to the bottom. "Where's Connie?" said Joe, suddenly looking around. "Not here. That's good," said Saucepan. "She must have fallen down the slippery slip," said Silky. "Oh, poor Connie. She'll be at the bottom of the tree by now. We'll have to go down and fetch her." Well, that's the end of this reading for tonight. I hope you guys have enjoyed this part of the Faraway Tree book. And good night, and to all you little girls and boys, I hope you have a lovely sleep and sweet dreams. Good night.